Welcome back. I'm Udar Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. A tragic update from the United States is coming in tonight. A 22-year-old Indian student who had been missing in California has been found dead. Authorities in the Indian Consulate have confirmed Saketh Sreenivasaiah from Karnataka was a postgraduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. He was reported missing on the 9th of February, prompting an intensive search by local police, including drones, sonar equipment, and divers around Lake Anza in the Berkeley Hills. On Saturday afternoon, his body was recovered from the lake by local law enforcement, and the Consulate General of India in San Francisco expressed deep regret over the loss, extending condolences to his family and assuring all necessary support, including arrangements for repatriation. In posts shared by friends, Saketh's roommate described signs of emotional distress in the weeks before his disappearance, saying he had stopped caring about life and became withdrawn. Saketh was an accomplished student, a chemical and biomolecular engineering master's candidate at UC Berkeley, and an alumnus of the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. The circumstances surrounding his death are still under review, but the incident has touched off broader conversations about the pressures faced by international students studying far from home. Joining us live is Priya Sehgal, editorial director of NewsX. Also with us is Ashwini Dubey, AOR Supreme Court. Shamshavi Shrine, advocate Supreme Court, is also joining us live on the broadcast. Priya Sehgal, let me begin with you first. This unfortunately is the latest in a string of incidents involving Indian students abroad. How concerning is this latest development for you? And do you believe is it a wider pattern that our Indian students are having to face abroad?
Thank you Uday, for having me on the show. And yes, this is a matter of concern because, we've been seeing, I think, ever since post-COVID, there has been a lot of emphasis and a lot of, reach out to students away from home, especially those in the US, in terms of depression, in terms of mental health, in terms of, pressure, in terms from, academic pressure. So there has been a lot of, concern about students abroad. We've seen that there is, apart from living away from the family, there is also currently what is happening in the US. Also, there is some, students are feeling the pressure of that as well. So I think we've seen the advisory given by the US consulate also to all foreign students, saying that, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any, especially in terms of they're listing depression as one of the reasons that may, address the students. And they say, please do come and reach out, and, there is help. So clearly depression, being away from home, pressures, we don't know exactly what the incident in this case was, but as you mentioned, his own friends are saying that he was, feeling low and feeling depressed. That could be one of the reasons, but we are seeing the pressure over there, and it is very concerning.
Ashwini Dubey, this was no ordinary student. This was a student who, of course, was a pass out of IIT Madras, which is one of the most prestigious institutes in our country. And he was studying at University of California, Berkeley, which again is a very prestigious university abroad, and a university which requires, exemplary grades and obviously, an accomplished CV. And that's what Saketh had. Unfortunately, look at what's happened to him there in California. Ashwini, what do you make of this case and its wider ramifications?
Oh, no doubt about it. He was a shining and meritorious student. Today, I'm raising a serious concern here. There's a surge in deaths of Indian citizens, particularly students and young professionals in the United States, has become a major cause of concern. And if you see 24, 25, and then you go back, key trend and data, if you see from 2024 to 2025, then you'll see that a high number of fatalities have taken place. The incidents are continuing. Concentration. Many incidents have occurred in this state with the high Indian population, especially Texas, New Jersey, and California. This is a problem of worry. It can't be only termed as a mental health issue or something, peer pressure. It must be seen and investigated upon that what was the reason behind the death of such a shining, bright student who has a bright future ahead. And these kind of students are never with the depression, they don't feel depressed. They are always in a high energy mode. And that's why I'm saying the government must ensure that the safety and security of Indian students abroad and monitors incidents of violence against them. What was the reason? And you see his friend, the Singh has said that he came one day, he came back from the university, and he was wearing some robe, and then as like he was not answering in a usual manner. So what was the reason? And violent and untoward about incidents are immediately taken by the Indian missions, and they should also be in touch with the students who are studying abroad. See, it's an immense pressure, and the death of this Saketh Sreenivasaiah have caused immense concern regarding student safety and security. These incidents have sparked international concern, questioning safety protocols, accountability, and the well-being of Indian students abroad. And that is why you see, Uday, the Consulate General and Consulate General officials are in touch with each and every citizen, Indian diaspora who are abroad, who belongs to the Indian, who are the Indian citizens. What has happened? What transpired? That must be looked into, investigated upon. This can't be just brushed aside as somebody has died and the mysterious death, and such a young student has died. That's a reason, and I think that our MEA must take up this issue with the US authorities, and US authorities should investigate in an unbiased and impartial manner so the truth may reveal, and why this has happened. The cause must come in the public domain. Over to you.
Okay, let me take that to you, Shamshavi Shrine, as well, on what the larger questions that this incident raise, and Shamshavish, whether you would connect this incident to the other incidents involving our Indian students, not just in the United States of America, but in Canada recently as well. We saw another being shot dead. So it clearly shows how our diaspora, unfortunately, is not safe abroad. Do you see a pattern emerging, or should these cases be looked at isolatedly?
No. So if we will look in this matter, I would start from this matter only. Since the complete details is not out, whether how that kid died, only looking at the background of this kid. So he had a patent, which is quite something which is very important. The patent was on a micro-channel cooling system for Hyperloop and the method thereof. Which means that he was a very important person there, because Hyperloop is a very important subject to be spoken about over there. So the investigation agency needs to need to see that whether there was any kind of a pressure on him to actually give up the patent, or someone wanted to or tried to steal it from him, or something or the other. So that is the angle which should be seen in this matter. Apart from that yes, poor kids who are going abroad, they are there to study, but unfortunately due to the pressure of staying outside their home, their homeland, everything matters a lot. So I think that the colleges should have a counselor there, a health counselor, a mental health counselor. Besides that, the embassy also should actually provide a proper counseling over there for all the kids, and they should have a proper contact information available, that in case of any kind of a mental health breakdown is going on, for that they can approach the embassy, because the language matters, the hometown matters, your own Indians matters over there. So if you don't have someone whom you know and who are this close to you, that would affect the mental health of these kids, because the pressure of the family is there, that they have to make sure that they clear their examination, or else their friends, their family, what will they say and all. So much of different kind of pressure is what build up with these kids. But in this particular case, I would request the MEA to put on the pressure on the government over there, and make sure that there is a proper inquiry in the matter. Thank you.
Yes, and this is happening, Priya Sehgal, in a so-called developed country, in a so-called modern university, in a developed state of America, that is California, which prides itself on being the Silicon hub. But yet, at such a university, this student felt unsafe. Also, his roommate is talking about the kind of mental pressures he was facing, that there were signs. He had stopped eating. He was just, snacking on chips and on cookies and stuff like that. So obviously, the signs were there. Why was this not stopped earlier? Why was Saketh not saved, Priya, at such a prestigious place, at such a developed nation as the United States, quote unquote, as it prides itself on being?
All very, very good questions, Uday. I think, as you said, it does seem to be a case of, depression because, from his friend's testimony that he stopped eating regular meals, he was snacking, and he was also being a little disjointed. And all this was in the last 2 weeks, he says. Otherwise, he says he was a bright student, very involved in the college life and the campus life. But in the last 2 weeks, there seems to be some kind of a disconnect, and it does show some kind of a mental pressure, more than anything else. He does seem to be in a disconnect or in depression, because he even cites an incident where he saw him wearing a red bathrobe to class, and he said, why are you wearing this? And apparently, according to his friend's testimony, Saketh replied saying, I've stopped caring about anything. Now that's a red flag. That is a cry for help if there is any. So these, I think the fact that he went unheard, and if he actually wore the red bathrobe to class, then that was like waving a neon sign. The college professors should have taken note. His own peers, his own classmates should have taken some action. So I think there needs to be some kind of a mechanism, whether, of course, there should be counselors on campus, but there should be regular check-ins with parents at home. Plus, I think maybe if there is some sort of a monitoring system within the classrooms, within the hostel, amongst the students themselves. Also, there are, of course, communities. We know that students have communities, so that kind of checks and little more alertness, because students, what students are like, they're only obsessed with themselves and they get involved. But some kind of looking out for somebody else, others, there has to these kind of checks should be flagged. There should be an awareness that these are the signs that you should look out for. This is a cry for help, and this is when you start reaching out and trying to find out. So if the students are made aware of these kind of signs, then they can actually be the ones who are going to be pointing these out to the counselors, because counselor cannot be there the 24 hours on the campus or with the students. So I think awareness is much needed in this. Mental health is a huge issue. I don't know what happened in this case, isolated case, but mental health is 9 out of 10 times. It is, because you're facing the stress of being away from home, you're isolated, you're not with your parents, you're in a new country, a country that is not very friendly to foreign students. The current situation in the US, especially right now. So you are having all those pressures. Then you have your academic pressures. You have to perform. You've probably taken loans. The fees are very high. So you are already having a financial burden on you. So there is a lot of stress, more stress than you face back home. So given all that, I think there is, there is a crying need, because now mental health, post-COVID, is no longer under the carpet. It's on the open. People they admit going to counselors. Students are going to counselors. Is not a thing. Early on in the olden days, it was something to be ashamed of or whatever. But here, it is very clear that this is something that ails all of us, in fact, at some point or the other, and there is no harm in asking for help. In fact, a lot of people just do counseling it's like your workout routine. You have to look after your physical, you also have to look after your mental. That is the message that has to be sent to our students. Make them aware so that they can reach out.
Yes, indeed. Okay, let me take that to you, Ashwini Dubey, because the fact, of course, Ashwini, is that very often there is no closure as well. We're putting out several cases, several incidents which have occurred in the US of our Indian students that have gone missing. One or two have been found, but the others, were presumed dead, or their dead bodies, unfortunately, have been found, like in this case. But how will we ensure that their families get closure? How will we ensure in this case that Saketh's family gets closure? What should the university do? What should the US government do? How can our government help as well?
Yeah, see, the students who are in abroad, there is a portal, WhatsApp group, consular access, and the emergency hotline numbers. So students are encouraged to stay connected with the local Indian consulate officials through the MADAD portal, and then WhatsApp group, then consular camps, and there are other methods. It's not a question of fatality or death of one person. You see, in US between 2020 to 2024, the 100 students, Indian students, died in the United States of America. That's a very worrying number. In 2024 alone, at least 11 students or Indian origin students were reported killed or died under mysterious circumstances. The trend has not decreased, it is increasing. And that is continuing in 20, that continued in 2025 and 2026 just started. And you see, first 2 months of the year, including a case of 2020, this old IIT Madras found in California, and then other incidents. So the high number of fatalities or the deaths or the injuries which is being caused to the Indian student, that's a problem of worry. It's not only one, cannot be associated with only one thing that they are away from the home. There are many other reasons, maybe. And that should be the government must ensure, government must see, the MEA must ensure that what are the reasons behind. And you see, unless and until you go to the root cause of the problem, you won't be able to give a solution to those students. And see, and in US, since the Trump administration has taken place, the H1 visa issue and number of other issues, it's not only one case. It has sparked controversy, recent incident, and one of the best considered to be, I'm claiming to be the one of the best topmost country of the world. And if this is happening, that's the problem of worry. And I think government must act promptly. Governments must be proactive, and there should be do's and don'ts with the students and also the officials of the United States of America. Why these kinds of incidents are happening? Why there is no check and balance? If somebody is going and studying in a university, prestigious university, equal responsibility of the university, equal responsibility of the missionary, the consulate officers, equal responsibility of the officials who are there to look after our Indian citizen, Indian diaspora. That's what that should be investigated. And I think the MEA should not take should take a serious note to this and must investigate. Truth should come. It's not one death. And all solidarity to the family of this 22-year-old IIT champion, that this shining student who died under the mysterious circumstances, why this has happened. But that, which we should go back. We should see what happened in 2020. What was the reason in 2021? What was the reason 2022, 2023, 2024? And that, I think that the government must ensure that those students or the citizens who are in USA, they should be safe, they should be sound, and they should be touched with them. Over to you.
Okay, Shamshavi Shrine, the US, of course, lectures others on human rights and other issues. Perhaps now they need some lecturing, on issues concerning students at their universities and the lack of mental health, facilities, and the lack of obviously trained professionals to spot these incidents, as we've seen in Saketh's case. Now, what should change so that no more students befall the same fate?
First thing that should change is that every 3 months there should be a proper mental health checkup of all the children, be it Indians, be it from their own country. So every university should have a mental health counselor, and the checkup should be done every 3 months. Let them actually come out that what the problem is, because there are many who don't tell even after ages. So your college and your school should be the safest space, and that should be a place wherein a kid should feel that I can tell anything and everything to the person who is sitting across. Second, in order to curb all of this, the government should pressurize the government there, and of course there should be a debate over it, that hate crime should be decreased, because the moment a foreign student comes there, in the college, the atmosphere of the citizens of their own country, their behavior changes towards brown skin, black skin. So the behavior is very different over there. So the government have to make sure that the hate crime decreases, and you have to talk about humanity, equality more compared to other hate crimes that subject that everyone talks over there. So if you start promoting the humanity in the college, the hate environment would actually stop, because it's the next generation who will keep on talking about it. So why not start it in the school and the colleges? Third, if the government wants that, especially the Indian students should not be made a target over there, you should have to be a very prompt response should be given to the citizens over there. For example, I will give it to you that here in India, no one dare to touch someone who is from US or the UK. Why? Because they know that the government is going to be very prompt, and the US government will also be very prompt, and then the Indian government would be pressurized a lot, and quick response would be taken in that matter. So when such kind of quick responses we take for the ones who are not from India, especially from the ones who are from Russia, UK, US and all, so for them, if we can act this fast, it's we have to make sure that our individuals should be acted in a similar manner there in their country. Only then you would find a very safe environment, and everyone would feel safe in that kind of hate atmosphere that they have in the college and in the city there. Apart from that, it's very good that the news channel like yours has started a debate over it. I hope that many other channels also have a debate, so that the international news actually starts talking about it, that we are putting the pressure on the government to act and not sleep over it. Because as the earlier speaker spoke, that it's been happening 100 200, it's been just happening again and again. So if it is happening back to back, and you don't hear a similar story here in India, which means that the government is not acting as promptly as we all should, and the US and UK government or the other stronger government, they are acting much more promptly. Thank you.
Let me also, in fact, rope in Dr. Mohit Sharma. I believe he's joined us now as well on the broadcast. He's a psychiatrist. Dr. Sharma, this is a very worrying case, of course, which came to light. What do you make of what was known about the body language of Saketh, his mannerisms that had changed? Were these signs that should have been spotted earlier? What prima facie do you make of what could have led to him to disappear in this manner?
First of all, I want to extend my deepest condolence to Saketh family, friends, and the entire student community in US. The loss of a young life is heartbreaking. As a professional, I cannot make speculations, but we all know that international students deal with a high level of stress due to academic pressures, due to performance expectations to them is very high. They are far away from their families, from their culture. There is loneliness and social isolations are always there. So if we see there are some we are not aware of everything. We cannot say without evaluation, but we need to see whether there was some withdrawal before that. There was some pattern changes in his eating pattern, his sleeping pattern, his interaction with the other people, whether he has expressed any hopelessness, any emotional turmoil was there, or any stressor was going on in his life, which was making him feeling of being failure. So these pointers needs to be assessed and needs to be looked upon, and definitely there should be regular encouragement. There should be awareness building should be there, so that stigma comes down and people become more pro for taking help. Rather than feeling it's a weakness to take help, they should feel it's their strength to take the support.
Okay, let me also ask you, Dr. Mohit Sharma, about what kind of measures should be in place at universities according to you?
According to me, there should be some counselors, some kind of awareness pattern first of all should be there. There should be, the people should know that what is the mental health problems. People should be aware, should be freely express their emotions to their colleagues, to their teachers, whoever available to them. There should be mentee programs should be there, so that people don't feel.
Absolutely. Priya, if I can quickly rope you back in here, because the fact is that earlier, it used to be a dream to study abroad. However, all of that unfortunately is changing. Looking at these incidents that have come to light from many universities across the world, is that dream now slowly being punctured? Is that bubble bursting of the rosy life, the picture that earlier existed of studying and living abroad?
Uday, yes, and also part of the reason was that there weren't many options available in India. We saw, because of these very unrealistic high marks that the college cutoffs are demanding, that people were actually finding that they have to go abroad and study rather than studying at home. But now things are improving, with this new education policy coming in, with also a lot of foreign universities are setting up campuses in India. Our own colleges are expanding. So I think that trend is also changing. That's a positive trend that is happening. The students don't have to spend a lot of finances and also go away to an alien country such as it is. Also, the pressures, we're seeing, given the current situation in the US, maybe the demand or I think the number of students going to the US also has fallen down in the last few years to over 50, and some people are saying even 75%. I don't have the numbers, so I don't know, but drastically there's been a reduction of students maybe opting for the US. There are other countries where they would prefer to go. Australia is coming up as a destination, Germany is coming up as a destination, Finland is coming up. There are a lot of other destinations. London, I think UK has been overbooked, but there are other destinations in Europe that are offering that students are now exploring. Even Southeast Asia is coming up as an attractive destination. So we are seeing options that are there, because at the end of the day, a college degree is essential. We are seeing options that students are exercising, and I think that is a positive trend. Also, another advantage of the new education policy really is that there is an emphasis not just on academics but on vocational skills. So students don't have to really go abroad for that. They can find options in India also. We are also now curating courses that feed into this demand, that is not just degrees, but we're going to skill you for a job. So a lot of startups are being encouraged here. So it's not just you don't have to become an employee. You can start up your own some kind of enterprise and try and earn. So I think there's been a change in trends, change in mindsets. All that looks that hopefully that it is it's a positive sign that one doesn't really have to go abroad but find options within India also.
Okay, let me take that to you, Ashwini Dubey, once again. Looking at this case from a micro perspective, is foul play ruled out? Of course, right now the police will investigate this case further, but prima facie you believe foul play is ruled out, or is it too early to say that? Is this a case of suicide, or is this a case that could be something else?
It's too early to jump to the gun, because that's a law and order enforcing agencies have to investigate this issue. But the investigation should be fair, proper, unbiased, transparent, and so that the truth should reveal. That we can demand at this stage, because see, some young student has died. So in that situation, coming to but keeping in view the past trend over there, nothing can be ruled out. You see, it's not only one student. Since 2020 to 2022, recent data, you see 2025, then you will see the high number of fatalities and deaths, and you will find that, yes, something is fishy there. It's not only the health issue or mental distress, I would not call it at the university level of education. There is something, maybe some racial attack also, maybe some teacher because of being Indian might have been harassing him. But one thing, in India also, what is happening in the universities, because of this UGC regulations, you see the universities have become a new place of protest. Here also you see, because of national education policy is one hand, leaving aside, you see government, because of this UGC regulation, has divided the students. Here also the situation in these universities has become out of control. And irrespective of the fact that the Supreme Court has given a clear stay to that and have repealed that, and 2026 regulation has put in a base. But here the situation is not conducive to the environment of studying students. You see what is happening in Delhi University when Ruchi Tiwari was clearly about to lynched. So this is not the government in any country, either in India or in US. Students do not have a safe place here even to study because of certain government policies and government norms. So the government, irrespective of the country, must take that none of these citizens are deprived when their fundamental rights. That's over to you there. That's thank you.
Okay. I've run out of time, so I'm going to have to leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. We're taking a very short break. Back on the other side with lots more.
कार इंश्योरेंस डन।
पॉलिसी बाजार से कराया?
नहीं।